Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there and welcome to Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and also business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing how to get back on track after the Christmas festivities. And we're not talking about just general detoxing and what you should be thinking about, but how does, when you are really after the festivities, going into business and getting your business running again, how can the way you feel affect your business? That's what we're talking about today. And how do you get that energy that you need to actually drive your business forward into 2016. I mean, let's face it, a lot of us have been sitting on sofas for a couple of weeks and we've probably been drinking just a little bit too much. So how do we reverse the effects on that? And how do we have a more healthy lifestyle long term? In other words, how to detox your diet for maximum performance at work. My guest of today's show is Kate Cook, corporate wellness expert and author of the Corporate Wellness Bible. Kate, lovely to have you on the show.
Fantastic to be here.
A lot of people, when we talk about having Kate Cook on, the business of wellness, a lot of people don't really associate wellness with business. They think you go into work, you come home at night exhausted, you slump in a chair and have another glass of wine. And to a certain extent, you nearly agree that that's going to happen, don't you? You are one of the realists when it comes to wellness.
Absolutely. It's all about choices, and I think actually sometimes it's around not really knowing how to make the right choices to be very dynamic in business. It's actually your biggest resource is you. You know, they have human resources departments nowadays, and that would indicate that the resource are the humans in the company. Yeah, it's really the resource that we don't take care of often. We expect it's all a head thing, so we don't understand this connection between that. Actually, to be dynamic in business, you need to realise that you're joined up with a body, which is you, and you need to take full advantage of how you look after that piece of machinery.
When you go into large corporates, and I know you have a whole host of blue chip companies, corporate clients and people like that you talk to, initially when you go in, do they poo-poo it? Do they just think they're doing it because it looks good? Or does it take them a little while to actually get the meaning of what you're trying to achieve?
I think it really depends on where you're coming in terms of what budget you're coming in under. I do quite a lot of work with health and safety, so under that budget, and health and safety budgets really realise how important the nutrition piece is in the whole thing, because if you are working with machinery and your blood sugar is unstable, so you've come to work just eating nothing or eating some sugary snack and your blood sugar crashes while you're operating a crane, it is understood that that might be a dangerous thing. But in other budgets, it's more difficult. So something like in HR, it tends to be that the wellness budget comes under benefit as opposed to strategy. So it comes under this kind of, it's nice and cuddly to have a nice session with a nutritionist, and we'll sort of, everybody's stuffing in a sandwich, for the lunch and learn. I think we talked about that last time. And everybody's, it's nice and it's informative, but it's not really strategic. And I think there's a third way that I get brought into a company, which is they haven't really thought it out, to be honest. They haven't really thought out why I should be there in the first place, and therefore sometimes that doesn't work because actually they haven't communicated that to their people, or they haven't communicated it to themselves, and then they're left sort of wondering, oh, why have we booked this? It's
a bit of a soft topic, isn't it, I suppose, in business, because people are looking at the nuts and bolts. They're looking at marketing, we're looking at sales, we're looking at getting our sales force out there, we're looking at building profits, and they sometimes maybe miss sight that if you don't have a healthy workforce, then all that's going to suffer. I mean, have you been to a business where you have been able to measurably see a difference pre and post your visit?
Well, I think that's the thing, which is actually is to measure it. And I think that's where a lot of companies, again, they don't get engaged in wellness because they actually haven't measured it to start with. So in other words, they just don't know what it is they are trying to achieve with it. So therefore, they see it as a fluffy subject because actually they haven't measured it. In health and safety particularly, I mean, not that that's all I do, but in health and safety, of course, you measure accidents. So you put in a strategy and then you measure it afterwards and you see the demonstrable difference. In wellness, it just needs measuring, and all you need to do is measure it and then measure it again and see what difference it makes. And in certain companies, we have done that, yes. So we've taken a sort of energy indicator at the beginning where, and again, it's kind of done very much on a questionnaire basis rather than any, sort of like medical indicators. But it's kind of like, so what is, we ask a series of questions. What is your energy now? And what is your energy at the end of the trial? Over and over again, we've had going from 3 out of 10 to 8 out of 10 with one company I've just done recently. So it's just actually taking that measurement is really, really important.
Is it perception, do you think? Are we playing with their minds as well? Are you playing with their minds as well? If you put somebody, if you phrase a question, if you frame it in a particular way, it will make them think one particular answer, and then later on, if you frame it a different way, it will make them sound more positive. Do you see what I mean? It's that definitive.
I think it's about
benefit.
Asking the same questions at the beginning and then you're asking at the end, and not trying to kind of fiddle it, if you like. But it's like, so how do you feel really? No, come on, just tell me. Just look into my eyes. No, we're trying
not around the eyes.
We're trying to do it in a way that actually is measurable in that sense. But there is a lot of, it is seen as wellness is seen as kind of like, it's not the first thing we're going to do. As you were saying, marketing and putting people out there, sales, and getting your business into the business is obviously an extremely important part. But actually, it's how those people then perform that business, and quite often we look at the head reasons why they might not be performing, like bullying in the work, and these are all very important. Other points, by the way, it's not to dismiss the other disciplines that go around the more sort of, if you like, softer kind of like company wellness and company, making sure that people are being looked after in their company.
I suppose it's a company ethos, isn't it? It's where the company, the principles that the company stands for to a certain extent.
Yeah, it is the principles, but I think also it is about that them thinking that through in a strategic way, not sort of, because a lot at the moment there is a lot about wellness and a lot about corporate social responsibility, and it's going to become a much bigger thing in the future. How you have looked after your people. So it is going to become a much bigger thing. But I think it is actually that strategic kind of stepping back and thinking, okay, we are going to introduce a wellness program. Actually, why are we doing this? Is it because we want to look like nice guys? Is it because we want the guys to have a little bit of a nice treat? Or is it because we really want to change the bottom line? We want to make a difference to our bottom line. And if that's the case, or any of those cases, actually you still need to measure it and not just introduce people in a fluffy way. They do a nice little chat. And I do that, by the way. I'm quite open to doing lunch and learns, fluffy chats, whatever you want. And it does make a difference. I'm surprised actually when I go back into massive, I work for a massive company, a rail company, and going back into that company and people tapping me on the shoulder and saying, you've changed my life. Now you've not only changed my life, you've changed the life of my wife and my kids. But we never measured that. So it's very difficult to actually have that as hard data.
I think the thing that's interesting about you, and I love your approach to it, and it's nearly a bit of a joke, I suppose, but you're not evangelistic about it, are you? You don't go in there and go, and if you don't do what I tell you to do, you will die. Ooh. You actually go in there and go, look, I'm going to give you the advice. If you want to take the advice, great. If you don't, so be it. It's
all about choices, and I think that's the thing. And I think you get to those choices at different points in your life, and actually I've not always been a nutritionist, and I've not always lived a massively healthy lifestyle, previous to this, my career now, which 16 years, but actually you do change and you evolve and you add little pieces in day by day, and it's not about that. And I think actually getting back to the subject of detox, at this time of the year, we have this temptation to go, right, that's it, we've blown it, let's just
well, there's a lot of people who are having no drink January, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's great, and that's choices you make. But actually, it's this, we're doing this kind of revolution rather than an evolution, and the evolution is extremely important rather than that, trying to change everything dynamically in 1 month, because those changes don't often stay.
I have trouble having no drink today, let alone no drink this month. What's that all about then? When we look at it, we're going to be talking about detox, but very briefly, is there one big problem that most business owners have? For instance, we're trying to be quite positive here. For instance, now we've got oat cereals out there, porridge, and the idea is that invariably I will come out. I won't have anything won't have any breakfast, but now what I will do is, while I'm sitting at a laptop or something, I will be having a bowl of porridge, so that at least I've got some energy first thing in the morning. At least I'm doing something.
Yes, absolutely.
Just how important is breakfast?
That's it, folks. It's breakfast. You heard it here first. There's different schools of thought, to be honest, on this breakfast thing, and there are lots of different strategies. Everybody you talk to will be different. In the end, you have to find and adopt a format. I say it's like having a skeleton as a body. You have a skeleton that keeps the structure in place. So having a structure, kind of whatever the structure, is an important thing. And I think actually a trouble is with a lot of business owners is that the business comes first. Everything else comes first. The emails come first. Reactive. You're extremely reactive, especially if it's your own business. But of course, if you're in a bigger business, then you're at the beck and call of somebody else, your boss, whoever. And it's actually about having those boundaries and and structure in there that allows you to properly eat. And so in your incarnation, changing what you've got outside is great, because it's better than snacking on Maltesers or bonbons or whatever that's certainly better. But it's actually about really putting the real structure in there to say, actually, before I get started, I sit down and have a proper breakfast, and then I have a proper, you could have a proper snack, some nuts and some seeds and an apple, and then you have a proper lunch and you have a proper snack. Now, I know that's difficult in lots of businesses because the structure of the business doesn't allow for that. But then you have to go back and change the structure of the business, because in the end, you will, not you personally, but it will crash and burn you. The way you live your lifestyle is the crash and burn. It's the old Scrooge thing, talking about Christmas just around the other corner. But, it's actually that moment of choice, that moment where Scrooge is standing in the window, he realises it's Christmas, he throws open the windows, he looks downstairs and says, Christmas, what day is it? And somebody says, oh, it's Christmas Day. And he says, oh, thank God, because he's realised that he has been allowed to have that choice.
Listen, hold that thought for a little while longer. We are talking about detoxing into the new year and how it's going to affect your business. My guest today is Kate Cook, who is a corporate wellness expert and author of the Corporate Wellness Bible. Well, so poor old Scrooge standing up there at the window. Do you know what? Actually, one of my favourite films of all time is the one with Albert. Is it Albert Finney in? Anyway,
we were talking about Oliver before you said that. I think it was in my mind. You see.
Yes, and it was on over. All of them were on actually over Christmas. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying today's show. Now, don't forget, a show like this could be yours as well. We'll tell you more about that a little bit later on. We're going to be talking a little bit more with Kate concerning the myths around detoxing and what it should mean to you. But before we do all of that, let's go back a week, shall we? We had a great guest on the program last week. Not saying that you're not a great guest. A great guest on the show last week. It was Paul Ryan, presentation skills trainer and personal impact coach. He's also a keynote speaker as well, for that matter, and the author of a book, How to Network Your Way to Success. Fascinating show. He was very, very funny. He was very, very informative. And he just gave different ways of looking at your different personal ways that you interact with people, how you present to people. We barely actually talked about the whole networking thing, the necessary evils that are in business of networking. But the whole show was a real insight in how you present yourself as a business person to somebody else, and what the benefits would be when you do it correctly and when you use some of the techniques that he talked talked about. Great show. Paul Ryan was the guy's name. If you've missed it so far and you haven't had a chance, here's a bit of a tease of what happened in last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing how to improve your business through better interpersonal communication techniques. It's going to be a great show. My guest on today's show is Paul Ryan, presentation skills trainer, personal impact coach and speaker, also the author of How to Network Your Way to Success.
I always say about my clients, you know, you give them a key to unlock a treasure chest of skills and talents that they've already got. So what I do is I take those skills, some of them are theatre skills, though you would never tell the client that, and you encourage them to use those to, say, for example, not self-censor so much, so that as well they're using their voice to its full capacity and power. How fast, how long does it take to create an impression? And that's where we decided that it takes no longer than 50th of a second. Well, we didn't decide it, you know.
It was written.
It was based on some writing of Malcolm Gladwell, who said, you've basically got 50th of a second. You know, the first fear in the Western world is getting up and giving a public speech, is speaking in public.
They'd rather die.
They would rather die. If you want to absolutely enhance everything that you've got in one simple step, stand up straight. And I know it sounds so simplistic, it sounds so straightforward, but it's incredible how posture dictates the way you feel and certainly the way you communicate. Do you know, it's fascinating the way that we give and receive messages. It's the Moravian statistic. He later recanted it, but as trainers we love it, so we've stuck with it. It's 55% body language, 38% tone of voice, and 7% the words you're using. So straight away, the power is in what you see over what you hear, and if you're not looking at the person, you're missing out on most of the way they're communicating their message to you. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them, and then tell them what you've told them. And you see that structure as well. So, for example, in the news programmes, they'll give you the headlines, then they'll go into the details, then at the end of the show, they'll repeat all the headlines again, so that it goes in. Another great tip, actually, for people's presentations is look at your content and take half of it away. Big tip, I mean, think about Steve Jobs, one of the best presenters in the history of the modern world, okay? He would stand in front of a PowerPoint slide that had one word on it, and the word was something like joy. And then he would talk all about that. When I get up to give a presentation, I think maybe there's been 3 times when I've used slides, and that's because the sponsors or the people employing me have asked me to do so. But most businesses will use them. So I would say a good mixture of all. And is there something else we can do to help simple structure? Yeah, 3 points. True passion, true enthusiasm through what you're saying is vital, and it's incredibly contagious. The first thing I would say is make sure that you're audible, because if people can't hear you, as I said earlier, you've got about 11 seconds before they just go, I can't hear a word. So, I mean, there's a whole host of things you need to do to start your presentation, and if you want to win your audience round, all that starts before you've said a word. That's my view. You know, this thing about what we believe what we see. Okay, and if we don't like what we see, already you've got a negative response. Fight or flight's going to go, well, I've got this resource which is my time. Is this person going to fill it with really, really good information that they're going to entertain and educate, or are they going to bore me? My name's Paul Ryan from Improve On You, and the takeaways from today's programme are, if you're going to give a presentation, what you're probably going to find is that your nerves will kick in long before you get up on your feet. So something that we didn't discuss in the programme, but I want you to use, is a positive affirmation. Often we talk ourselves down. We will say, oh, God, I hate giving presentations. I'm rubbish at giving presentations. It's going to be terrible. And it's the old Henry Ford thing. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The brain is an incredibly powerful tool. And what I want you to do is stop those negative thoughts in their tracks by thinking something positive. So I will always say to myself, for example, and we all get it, I was saying to Steve earlier, you know, coming on this show, I get nervous a little bit, but I'm using the tools and techniques that I want you to use now to put me in a really positive state of mind. So when I was waiting to come in, I used my positive affirmation, which was, I am sharp, polished and professional. I'm sharp, polished and professional. That stops all the negative monkey mind chatter in its tracks with a positive affirmation, a statement of something which is true. Okay, because I am pretty good at what I do, I am professional and I am focused. By telling myself that, that's what I'm going to feel. So before you get up to give your presentation, choose a new positive affirmation and repeat it to yourself. It must be in the now, not I will give a great presentation, because will is always in the future, but I give a strong, clear presentation. I enjoy the presentation that I'm giving.
I was very tempted to leave his Kenneth Williams impersonation near matron in a very, very funny man, but a very informative man as well. That's Paul Ryan. If you do want to catch up on the program, just go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Don't forget, you know, his contact us as well if you want. If you've got anything you want to say to us, or if you'd like to be on the program, maybe you are an expert in your field. Now, we are looking for top layer experts. We're talking about the best of the best. And if you maybe do keynote speaking and you want to come on the program and you've got something that you feel would be really worthwhile to our business audience, then please do get in touch with us. Can we give the address and all the details? Here we go. If you want to email us, you can email us here at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. If you want, you can also telephone us on 01784 256 777. And if you wish, you can follow us on Twitter at BCL Business TV. By the way, that isn't sort of saying we haven't got guests. We are booked. We are booked, I think, for nearly the next 6 months with guests from all over the place. Got some great shows lined up for you here on Business Connections Live. And as always, we're here live on a Monday to bring you the latest and the greatest information when it comes to running your business and making it more and more successful. You're watching Business Connections Live. Our guest on today's show is Kate Cook, corporate wellness expert and author of the Corporate Wellness Bible. And she isn't just somebody that's written a book because she can. Your background, you're really into nutrition, aren't you? That's what you really are.
Yes, I'm a nutritionist by training, and I'm actually something called a nutritional therapist and we deal with patients. So we're trained to deal with patients, and rather than be a nutritionist who looks at the analysis of a carrot and knows how many vitamins and minerals are in the carrot. It's much more dealing with the person, and over the years nutritional therapy has become more and more of a sort of bigger chunk of the nutrition world. And so I think that's very important, though, is that the sort of humans come first in what we do. We actually, in clinic, we are basically trying to find biochemical breaks in people's health, so looking for micronutrient deficiencies that might account for some ill health condition. But in the corporate sense, corporate education is what I do now full time. So yes, I've sort of slightly moved away from the patient side, although I still have a clinic in Harley Street, and we have a head clinician who looks after the private patients now. Yeah. Blimey.
All right then.
Yes.
That's a big bill, I would imagine. Now tell me, detoxing.
Yes.
We talk about detoxing. We hear it every year. If you were to look at the newspapers, you would think that they've got it written in their diary. Let's do an article on detoxing in January, and don't eat too much chocolate at Easter. It's detoxing. Is it just a big game? Is it a myth? Does detoxing truly work?
Well, I think first of all is the phrase detox. I think it's a handy marketing package where, you know, people fling quite a lot of stuff into, you know, detox and what, you know, it's sort of like, let's just fling it in there. So it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. In the medical world, detoxing doesn't really mean anything. I mean, in terms of, unless it's a serious medical detox in terms of alcohol or, you know, that you're trying to detox somebody who's an alcoholic. But actually, in terms of just an everyday kind of like, I am detoxing, I think it doesn't really hold much sway with the medical community. In our world in nutrition, it can also mean a lot of different things under that label, and I think the problem really is with the term detoxing itself. We have our own enzymes in our bodies that detox our body is trying to get to an equilibrium all the time, so it's trying to get this balance, and all the time we're exposed to these different chemicals within our body that do the job. So two enzymes called GP and SOD, for example. I know it's Why is it called that? I don't know. But they're trying to get this equilibrium the whole time. And so therefore, I think the common view is that since our body's trying to do that, then why should we try and help it? You know,
I mean, we
can
are
do
a
to
very,
help it?
very complicated chemistry set, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we are constantly trying to normalise things. For instance, if we're ill, something's going to happen within our body that's going to try to fight that. If we have too much of a particular vitamin in our body, we'll get rid of it. If we have a craving for it, we'll show that we've got a craving for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is actually with the detox, you know, it's that I think the problem lies with that detox terminology. And I think actually beyond the body being able to detox itself, I think actually, given our modern diet and given the fact that we put our bodies under a lot of stress and welly, basically, it's actually how good a job is our body actually doing when the enzymes that we were given were really meant for a cave person who probably didn't have the toxic load that we have today with chemicals, environmental toxins, you know, bad food, drink, you know, and all the rest of it. Which,
So ultimately, Kate,
yes,
the things that you see where they say, right, get all your carrots and your cauliflower, stick it in a blender, cut it up, detox, using these kind of drinks, are they a waste of time?
I think it's a horse for a course, as I say, and actually I think if it gets people motivated to change, I think that's a good thing. I think actually people from doing that kind of regime suddenly feel that the light goes back, you know, into their eyes, and they feel absolutely fantastic, and you know they're getting a lot of hits of, you know, they're getting a rest, if you like, from being given an onslaught of.
So are they being fixed
food.
psychosomatically then? Is
No,
it all
it's
happening
not,
up here?
It's not a psychosomatic fix, absolutely not. But at the same time, I think from a long-term point of view, I mean, I don't object to the detox thing, but I think my kind of wish would be is that it's a longer and more phased, and it's something, as I say, that's an evolution, not a revolution. So you get this revolutionary stage at this time where everybody goes, all right, and you know they're very, very militant and black and white about it. And actually, it's the sustainability of that along the road. And if that gets people to change something in their lifestyle from that, brilliant. But actually, it is actually about sustaining that for life. So it's eating good food, eating it well, cooking it yourself, going back to the structure of work and saying the structure of my work isn't working. In fact, there's a very good book which is called How We're Working Isn't Working, I think it's called. And it's actually about, really about that structure of work which isn't working. You know, if people are working really long hours and, you know, they're not being encouraged to really leave until it's too late to cook a meal, or they have to get there very early, they're not encouraged to take a lunch break, or, you know, any other way that those structures, home structures, are really eroded. So therefore, actually, the erosion of the home structure then permeates into your business life the next day. You know, you've grabbed something on the way home, you can't manage to cook it, you know, you're eating something in front of the TV, you haven't managed to do any exercise because of the structure of the work. So that, you know, that's got to change. So yes, it's detox, but actually winding back, it's actually about getting something that works longer term.
It's very interesting what you're saying there. Do you think everybody needs a kind of an epiphany moment when it comes to their own body's health? Do you think they need something awful needs to happen before they start to realise that the things that are important?
No, I really think it's about that education bit. I really think, and as I've gone on, actually, I mean, even as a nutritionist, I've thought, oh my God, you know, this, you know, things like glyphosates in our, you know, on our glyphosates, which is it's a kind of, well, it's a series of, it's a chemical weed killer, basically, that's put on our crops. You know, you're thinking, this is really interesting. Glyphosates actually are pretty toxic, so why have we got them on our cereals? So I think in the old days I was quite sort of kind of laid back about nutrition, really. But as I've gone on, I've thought, actually, blimey, there's so much stuff that we don't know about that's going on, that we should try and take control ourselves, and everything we can do within our own power, we should try and change. You know, and the big way you can do that is through nutrition. It's a very powerful way that you can instigate change in your health. And so it's a very powerful way of doing that.
I know you sent me over a slideshow, and I'm just looking for the actual slide. I mean, some of the things that do affect us. I mean, I don't know whether this is worth actually looking at, but we seem to do a lot of things where we're trying to kill ourselves. I mean, lifestyle toxins, as you call it here, we've got those. Toxic beauty as well, some of the contents are sitting in.
Absolutely. So things like in chemicals, we're taking in a huge amount of chemical through our skin, you know, through what we're putting on our body. You know, from what, you know, an average person getting up, you know, they're putting their deodorant on and they've had a shower and they've used that, you know, stuff from, or chemicals from that. And it may not seem very much, but over a time, you know, you've got I don't know what people put on, body creams and hairsprays and lipstick and mascara. Well, not you personally, Steve, but
you don't know.
People,
I
yes,
might.
You might do. But anyway, you're putting on all this kind of stuff, and then you're also then having like getting a toxic breakfast. You know, you're sort of like just stuff that you've got out of a packet. You haven't really put much thought into it, and then you're driving to work and you're getting the toxins from the environment. I don't want to paint a negative picture, but actually, nutrition is the one way you can say, right, well, in this section of my life, actually, do you know what? If I choose to eat, and change the way I eat, this could help my body with the onslaught of the other stuff that I can't control.
So it's what we take in, it's what we put on our body. You mentioned there the lovely slide here, actually, of a young lady who has just had a little bit too much. Our lifestyle itself can be toxic to the way that we towards our health. So we've really got to look at all of that. So, okay, our body naturally detoxes the chemicals, kind of.
Yes,
with a bit of help.
Yeah, I think actually just not enough, unfortunately. And also, I think the big game changer, and I know this has been kind of overplayed with, lots of different areas, but it's the stress that's kind of, if you imagine health like a glass of water, and actually, you're sort of adding up negative influences, and then finally the stress drop of water adds in the top of this glass and spills over. And people say, yeah, but it must have been pretty stressful in the Second World War or other times. But that's how our stress hormones are adapted to develop, they've been developed for crisis like that, not ongoing stress, which we have. It's that sort of like, the mortgage, it's the the kids, it's financial stuff, it's actually having access to gadgets and television and stuff and information the whole time that makes us feel that we're not dealing locally anymore, we're suddenly dealing globally. Suddenly Syria's in our sitting rooms, and the empathy that you feel, or sympathy or compassion for those situations suddenly is something you can't do anything about whatsoever, really, realistically, or at least now you can't do anything about it. So people feel, that stress really has, and it has. Why has it got something to do with nutrition? It has something to do with nutrition in that it's the resources you're putting in the top that influence how, for example, if you're eating kale, it's got lots of lovely magnesium in it. You need magnesium in your stress reaction to help deal with that, to help deal with the stress reaction. So if you haven't got enough resource in the top, then you'll not be able to deal with downstream stuff like stress, and it makes your system like a debit and credit. It makes you short in the bank account. You've not got enough resources in the bank to be able to deal with the modern lifestyle.
All right.
And because we're so head-based, we don't link the head and the body together and realise they're connected.
Well, you can see it's a complicated subject. It's a complex subject as well, and you may find that you're in a position where you're eating unhealthily. Your diet that you do on a daily basis is probably not doing you any good. You may, as we've already said at the beginning of the program, you've overindulged at Christmas. Maybe you drink too much and you use that as a crutch, perhaps, in life. We're going to talk more about what you can do positively to maybe get into a better place with Kay Cook in just a moment. It really is interesting. I mean, a lot of people, I don't think, realise that. Are we going to be able to give some key things that people can do?
I just realised I didn't prepare, but it's fine. Yeah. I can just.
Well, don't pull a face.
No, I can just wing it. So don't worry.
You can wing it.
Things,
It's the same old stuff.
No, I think it's actually. I find that, especially preparing. I've got to do this talk. When am I doing it? Next week, I think. And actually in preparing it, and looking through it again, it's just fascinating how, especially with this stuff, the epigenetics, changing your gene expression through epigenetics, which means that you're changing the expression of your genes through how you choose to live your life and how you change your environment. Nutrition is the big one you can change that through.
Well, we'll talk more about it in just a moment, if we may be so bold.
We can.
Thank you very much, and I hope you're enjoying today's programme. It really is a bit of an insight, isn't it? And the nice thing about it, of course, is that it's engaging television. It's, here we are. I think websites in 5 years' time are going to change completely. Maybe your website at the moment, you've got maybe the odd bit of video up there, you've got loads of text for people to read. But in 5 years' time, you're going to need to engage your audience just like we're engaging right now, where you're talking to your audience. People often say a picture paints 1,000 words. Well, how long we've been on the air now? Been on the air around about 40 minutes or so. Imagine how many pictures have been painted and how many words that represents. Now, you could do the same for your organisation. We've got something that we offer to businesses just like yours. You may be interested. If you are, I'll give you the details on how to contact us in just a moment. We call it Your Brand TV. Still sending out conventional newsletters to customers?
Do you just want a more engaging way to talk to your customers and employees?
Hello, I'm Steve Hyland.
And I'm Linda Bazant of Business Connections Live.
Your Brand TV is a completely branded television show that can be streamed live or delivered on demand to your niche audience. Be the first in your market to capitalise on the online media gold rush that is using online video to effectively deliver news, information and education to key personnel and clients.
Video attracts 2 to 3 times as many monthly visitors. It doubles their time spent on your site and has a 150% increase in organic traffic from search engines. Large networking organisations are already utilising the power of Your Brand TV to market, promote and publicise to their members and groups across the UK.
Your programme will be branded with your corporate colours and logos in your own broadcast quality network studio.
You can choose the format. It can be news or magazine or interview in its look and feel.
You can have live guests on your show, or you can Skype them in.
You can stream the show live or on demand, so it's available for catch-up.
This is a chance to deliver your message in a new, exciting format that will allow your business to cut through the noise and stand out from the crowd and engage your workforce and customers. This is Your Brand TV.
To get more information on this fabulous opportunity to bring to life your corporate communications, contact us today at Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel.
I think the thing that's interesting about it, there are 2 streams of the programme. In fact, there's our information programme, which, as you are aware, is completely free to watch. We've also got a corporate programme as well, which is more specific for businesses to actually want to sell and demonstrate. So if you'd like more details on that stream of programming, then all you got to pay for that, I'm afraid. We come round with a big van and you put piles of money in the bag. No, you don't. If you want more details on that, all you got to do is email us here at Business. Sorry, what's that you say? No, we do come round with a big van. If you want more details of that, all you got to do is contact us here at Business Connections Live. The address or the email address is studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Just send us an email to that, and either myself or Linda Bazant will get back to you. We'll have a bit of a chat. We've got a full team of people sitting here. Our studios await your command. If you want to, you can also give us a call on 01 784 256 777, and you can follow the thoughts, our process of thoughts, our consciousness as it flows out on Twitter at BCL Business TV. If you want to follow us, that'd be great. We'll, if we think you're any good, we'll follow you back. That actually is the truth. Everybody that follows us, we look at, we interrogate, and we think, yeah, that is a proper person. And we will follow you back because we think that's important. There are a lot of people out there that we come out, you probably come across them in business, and they go, oh yes, we've got 5,000 followers on Twitter. and you look at their Twitter followers, and they, most of them you can't read because they're in Russian and all sorts of different things. So please, if you want to follow us, please do. And as I said, this is a considered follow. We don't want you following us for the sake of it. We won't follow you back for the sake of it, for numbers. It is considered because we think as a community on Twitter, here is an opportunity to build a proper business community that exchanges ideas and information using Twitter. So that's why we do it. Hope you do it as well for the same reason. It's not about vanity or anything like that. It's about communicating great business ideas across Twitter platform. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Kate Cook, corporate wellness expert and author of Corporate Wellness Bible. I've actually got one of Kate's books just sitting here. In fact, you can get this on Amazon, I do believe. Is that right?
We actually do it as a corporate offering. So actually, you can white label it. So it looks a little bit like that.
Oh, give me your one. So this is the basic version.
Yes. So that is the basic version. And actually, if you're interested in wellness, you can white label it. So it could be the Bloggins Wellness Bible or whatever your company's called.
Or the Business Connections Live Wellness Bible.
Business Connection Live, exactly. So, but otherwise, yes, you can get hold of it, I believe, on Amazon. But we generally sell it through the publisher, who are happy to help. So get in touch with them directly.
Brilliant. Okay. And the publisher's name just sitting on the side of the book there, isn't it?
You can have a, yes, it is.
Hang on, I'm going to have to put the glasses on. I need the detox the eyeballs.
The publisher is 300, what is it?
Infinite Ideas.
Infinite Ideas, absolutely, of course.
Yeah, Infinite Ideas,
yes.
And a really good idea as well. It says on the back, switched on employers are starting to realise that one vital key to a flourishing business is the health of their employees. The Corporate Wellness Bible gives you and your people an accessible, engaging and practical resource presenting numerous health and wellness insights and suggesting how they can be applied to everyday life and to the way your business operates as well. Author is Kate Cook. She's my guest today on the program. What are the positive things that we can do, bearing in mind that at the end of the program you are going to give a few takeaways?
Yes.
But where do we start? What is the regime that we need to get into to start making ourselves a bit better? Yeah,
well, as I say, I think actually it's tracking back and seeing where the structure is going wrong, and at this time of year we do get that sort of detox kind of vibe going where we want to do it all. But we go shopping, we make a plan, don't we? We have to get the stuff in because we've got a different type of regime that we're doing, unlike our normal regime, and we're having to do something a bit different. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it and a lot of planning that goes into it. So the first thing you've got to do is step back and actually sort of realise how you're going to do this in your existing lifestyle. So what counts as a detox then? Well, I mean, actually, as I said, there's so many interpretations of this. But how I might do it, it's just personal taste. Is first of all cutting out some of and making sure that you're replacing them. Some of the more challenging foods, like wheat, for example. So when I was a kid, my mum might say, God, it's all a load of baloney, this thing about the wheat, isn't it? It's absolute tosh. In my day, we used to eat bread perfectly fine and it was all absolutely brilliant. But bearing in mind now that from the 60s onwards, there was something called the Chorley Wood bread processing method, which meant that bread is not made in the way you think that bread is made. So it's made industrially. So you have an industrial process that makes the bread. And in doing that, you've got lots of stuff you don't really expect to find in bread, like solid, hydrogenated fat, for example. And hydrogenated fat, they've found, is not very good for you. So when you buy that loaf, it is no longer the loaf that your mum probably
Well, it's an interesting
expects.
programme on the TV at the moment. I know you don't have a television. We'll all club together and buy you one.
Yes,
but
thank you.
there's a programme about the bakers or something like that, and they've gone back to Victorian times.
Yes.
And they are processing and making bread the way it would have been made in Victorian times.
Because I have a passion for making good, absolutely brilliant and great bread. And the way I do it is, it doesn't mean to say I don't eat bread, but what I do is eat sort of what I think is a more authentic type of bread, which is from people who are baking bread properly. So I might have rye bread rather than wheat bread. And so you're just making sure that you're eating or a spelt bread, which is, spelt is an ancient type of wheat which the Romans brought with them, or kamut, which is the Egyptian type of wheat, which isn't so hard on the digestive system. The big change from the 60s has been that there's much more gluten in wheat. So it presents more challenges for more people, and together with that chemical I mentioned, the glyphosates on top of that, it presents more problems for people digestively. Now, I can just tell you this because of my experience in clinic. So in other words, I had a huge clinical career, which is meaning I saw a lot of people. So after a while, you just begin to build up a pattern of seeing what is working out there and what isn't working. Do you see what I mean?
So
it's
maybe
real people.
Is it a case of cut it out or?
Well, I think it's just about replacing and making sure you're doing that responsibly. So it's actually, and a lot of the sort of rubbishy products, you know, so if you're eating a lot of wheat, it tends to be that the wheat is in rubbishy products that's just junk food anyway, like biscuits and cakes. And so making that one big change actually, and just saying, you know what, I'm going to replace wheat with rye, it just means that then you have to be more conscious about the choices you make, you know. So you're not starving to death and eliminating a food group, you're just making a responsible swap in for something else.
All right, so there's a bit of positive advice. Bread.
Absolutely.
So go for the rye-based breads if you can.
Yeah, well, that's what I do, and just because it tends to be that they are better baked and they're better, and you know, if you can make it organic, so much the better.
I think the interesting thing that came out of this programme, of course, is that rye bread was a cheaper alternative to the white breads before, and now, of course, you pay a premium for it.
There's all sorts of social reasons why that was, you know, why it changed. You know, things like, you know, in the Second World War, when it was the British loaf, and everybody was just gagging after the war to get a proper white loaf, because they saw it as kind of like, you know, and you really had to chew your way through the great British loaf in the war, and suddenly it's like everybody became richer and more wealthy, and they didn't want to have kind of this really heavy kind of poverty loaf associated with war.
It's frightening how much we know about bread, isn't it? Right, that's bread then.
Yes.
We'll part bread. What else can we do?
Well, I think that what you can do is look at also buying your food organically. And I know...
Does that really, really make a difference, do you think, Kate?
You know, and I'd say I can only speak from my own experience, 16 years in clinic and having a look at this. And also, for me, and also I should say that actually there are some fruit and vegetables that you really, really should buy organic, in my view, and there are some that you can kind of get away with. So things like soft fruits actually tend to be very heavily sprayed, and actually just swapping them in for some organic stuff. It doesn't mean to say it's going to cost you a fortune.
Are we talking about oranges?
The oranges actually you can peel, so things that actually you can peel are probably going to be better. You know, you don't have to have them organic, but it's actually that there are quite a lot of studies done showing, does organic work, does it not work? And actually, a study actually, I think it was about 16 years ago, said, you know what, it doesn't really make a difference, the organic thing, but they weren't measuring the pesticides on the organic food versus the pesticides in the non-organic food. So it was actually not a very fair comparison of the study. Does it work? I think actually just sort of like, what do you call it, dressing the window doesn't work. In other words, it's like thinking, God, I've got a really unhealthy diet. Why don't I go buy myself some organic cream buns? You know, I'm feeling really good about myself. The fact is, the whole structure of the diet should have changed by that time. And if you can't get to the organic thing straight away, cool. You know what? Just change the structure. Change getting your breakfast in place. Mr. Steve, you know, do that bit first, and you know, as you go along the journey, you make these changes. So, as I say, it's not revolution, it's evolution. So you make those changes. For me, you know, have been on this road for a while. One of the most important things now is organic food, but it wasn't when I first started. You know, it might just be, do you know what? Don't drink so much, and you know, it's you're going to be at a different stage in the race than everybody else. But for me, organic is really key to my understanding of
you touched on a topic there about drink. Is drink the Achilles heel of British industry, do you think?
I just think we have a really, interesting relationship with drink as British people. You know, we really do, and I think part of it is we are quite sort of uptight, and actually the way people feel that they can let go and let their hair down is have a bevy. And also we're sharing that community with our work colleagues and the pub after work, and it's quite an important part of how we see community. And I think that's the problem. It's not about wagging your finger and saying you should never have a drink.
Is it in moderation?
About the context. No, I think it's about getting the context right. In other words, it's sort of actually just it's like panning out on a camera and saying, okay, don't just pick on the drink. Pan out and say, okay, well, let's actually look at the whole of this, looking at it much more holistically and saying, right, the first thing that needs to change is the work structure. The way we're working isn't working. Getting in at these hours, doing these hours, multitasking on technology, all of that side isn't working. So once you kind of figured out that kind of structure, then you're saying, okay, what's the next thing? Well, the next thing is just get some real food. It doesn't have to be organic at that point. The next thing is, right, let's eat the breakfast, just get that piece in. So you're actually just building. It's almost like having a jigsaw puzzle and knowing what the picture is going to look like, and actually just trying to put the picture in to make a whole picture, as opposed to what people do is say, right, I'm not going to drink then, but you're going to still eat rubbish food, or I'm still going to smoke. It doesn't matter so much about the drink if you've got the other. I'm not saying it's a health product, but it doesn't matter so much if you've got the context and the whole right to start with. Do you see what I mean?
Because you often hear stories, don't you? He lived to 150, maybe not that often, and he would have a glass of wine every day.
And he smoked a crafty fag every day. Yeah, and I think that comes down to, sometimes it comes down to lifestyle.
Genetics.
Well, genetics actually plays a very little part in actually the outcome of health, a really small part, and really surprisingly, because there's something called epigenetics, which is actually about gene expression. So you sort of have the genes. It's genes load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Remember that thought. Very interesting. I don't know about you. It is fascinating. Surprising how much you actually probably already know latently, the kind of information you will know about bread, about the organic stuff, but how's it going to affect you in business? Still more to come with my guest today, Kate Cook. You're watching Business Connections Live. It is great to have your company. Now, before we go any further, there's something I want to remind you about. We use a fantastic product that is on the market at the moment. There is a link on our website that will take you to it. It is called TubeBuddy. Now, if you use YouTube for your business to get it out there, if you use it, YouTube to promote the different things that you do, the products that you sell, if you use it for education online and you just want to get more of an impact, then TubeBuddy is the tool that you need to have. It is incredible. This is TubeBuddy, the premier YouTube channel management toolkit. It's got everything that you possibly need on there when it comes to how you position and how you market your videos to your viewers. It really is quite something. Just let's have a bit of a look. You can see the page there. Now, these are just some of the tools that you've got. Annotation templates, bulk delete cards, which you can use, of course, online, caption service, tag explorer, getting the best tags for your video. You can use it to promote your videos as well with the Community Connect. You can share track it. One button, you can upload it straight to Facebook as well. It is a terrific tool. It sits in your Chrome browser. It's easy peasy to use. It sits in the Chrome browser. In fact, if you have a quick look on, if I just go to our YouTube page right now, can we just go to our YouTube page? Is that all right there? And you'll see here, there's the actual live stream of the program going out on YouTube. But up here, there's an additional menu that pops down. And this is what TubeBuddy looks like. And these are just some of the tools. It very quickly allows you to manipulate YouTube as well, to go around it. It's not breaking YouTube, it's an addition. It's the bits that you feel YouTube needs to make it a more business tool. Now, if you want more details, go to tubebuddy.com, or you can go to our website. There's a link on our website as well that'll take you to TubeBuddy. But we really do endorse TubeBuddy, and we think it is fantastic. If you want more details, go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com and check out TubeBuddy. You'll just find it below the little link that says you can watch us on Cambridge TV, and you can watch us using your Chromecast as well. And then there's a link to TubeBuddy. Click on that link and find out more about probably the most valuable tool that you can use when it comes to promoting your YouTube videos. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Kate Cook, corporate wellness expert and author of the Corporate Wellness Bible. And a fascinating read. If you get an opportunity, as Kate said, you can have it customized to your particular business. If it's important to you, for your staff, for your employees to be healthy, because if they're going to be healthy, they're going to be performing better. If they're performing better, that means you're going to be making more money. And that is the long and the short of it, isn't it?
Yes.
Healthy people, healthy profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, in this country, in the UK, we traditionally, we're in a very passive relationship with our health, which is, we kind of, we welly our lives, we eat rubbish. We're so concentrated on trying to make some money and be who we are in business that actually we forget, as I say, we're joined up to these bodies. In America, where they don't have, or haven't had the safety net of the national health to catch them when everything goes wrong at the end, or when we get into critical health, and again we have a very good national health, and that's great, but they're not or haven't been so far into this preventative sphere because they just haven't had the finance, or they haven't had the thinking. So that in the medical health, it's all to do with critical medicine. It's all to do with pathology. It's all to do with disease. A lot of this stuff lies like an iceberg under the water. It's not stuff you can see. People being a little bit knackered is not something that people really see. But you sort of warm up to things like heart disease. You warm up to things like problems with cholesterol. You warm up to these things over a long period of time, and they're kind of through lifestyle are really, really easily kind of preventable. And you don't have to have a boring life, because I think, again, the health thing has been, especially in the 60s and 70s, where, the health farm, it was really sort of like, oh God, killjoy. It was really about sort of like, raining on your parade and, killing your fun and all the rest of it. But actually, being healthy and vibrant is your only core resource that you have to live your life how you want to live it. And if you don't have that, personally, health is wealth. If you don't have that, then personally you're a bit stuffed. And in business you're stuffed. You've got people working in your organisation. I've had this with MDs, who are so knackered that they're having to take a kip literally in a lay-by. They've driven to a meeting, having a kip in a lay-by, and forced themselves through the meeting. And then had to go and have a kip on the way back home. Literally, they are knackered. And, you don't see that because people are playing a pretty good game of pretending that that's not how they are. For your own company, you want people to come in, engaged, dynamic. You want them to come in not with the background noise of addiction, in effect, alcohol addiction, caffeine addiction, smoking addiction, or any other kind of addiction. You want them to come up, play the game, be there, be present, and just be dynamic. And then go home and have a wonderful life with the money you've given them. That's a fair exchange. But that doesn't happen at the moment, And I think this could really easily change if people understood that connection between we are not just these giant heads travelling through space, looking at computers and not really being present at all, being on the phone. We are actually human beings, not human doings.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because you say there that, and it's interesting the way you vocalise that you have the energy, you come in, you enjoy what you're doing because you have the energy you've got, then you leave work and you've still got the energy, you go home and you have a fabulous life. Conversely though, you could also have the argument, well, for people really enjoy a drink, they will savour a glass of wine, the food that they will eat when it's covered with gravy and it's...
But I do that myself, which is I'm actually queen of gravy. It doesn't mean, but I don't do that every day. It's about looking at the context of food, and we talk about food as glue.
So is it everything in moderation then?
No, I don't think it's everything in moderation. I think it's about getting the structure right to start with. In other words, it's the structural thing, because otherwise the moderation thing is like, oh, well, I was pretty moderate today and I had half a tin of biscuits, and I was pretty moderate, when I got home, because then I had that whiskey, and then I was pretty moderate the next day. Actually, that moderation thing doesn't give the whole context of what you're trying to do. If you try and eat real food in a real proper way, with your real family, if possible, and you cook it in an engaged way, you know, actually Michael Pollan, who's an author, I don't know if you know him, American guy, talks a lot about food and a lot about food communities, talks about nutritionalism, and he talks about actually it being the nutritionists who ruin it for the rest of us, because what nutritionists tend to do is try and get little bits of the story, so through studies or whatever, you know, looking at the study of red wine. Red wine's so good for you because it's got resveratrol in it, and instead of joining it up into one big picture, we can do as well actually to step away from nutritionism and get back to sort of real engaged people eating real food, but knowing what it is that makes them function dynamically. That's what it's about, really.
If you want to find out more details about Kate Cook, you can go to her website. It is a real insight, and really it is important that you could take all this on board to consider about the impact of all of this on your business, because it's very easy. I mean, it nearly turned into a cookery show halfway through, talking about bread, and then, but this is about the energy. It's about being alert. It's about, you know, being on the case all the time when you're working within your business. You can go to Kate's website, Kate Cook, the Business of Wellness. Fascinating insight as well. Nice colours too. You can find out a little bit more about Kate. Why should you invest in the well-being of your people? How does well-being engage your CSR program? People with poor diets are absent 15% more than those with good diets. Remember, if you're a small business at the moment and it's your business, you're going to be coming every day, come hell or high water. But will other people be coming in? Do they have the same commitment to your business as you have to your own business? Well, here you've got a way to suggestions, a plan, an insight, maybe just a push in the right direction that's going to push people to maybe just think about how they feel about the way their own personal wellness. And because they feel good about themselves, they're going to feel good about coming into work. We've got, are you empowering your customers' healthy choices? That's a good idea. Oh, look, there she is. A little bit of video work going on there, a little bit about Kate Cook. If you want more details, go to the website, and the website address has disappeared off here, and your website address is katecook.biz.
Yes, that's it.
katecook.biz if you want to go to the website. I suppose you would say to people that if they're going to do something, they need to start today, now. Don't put it off for tomorrow. Don't say, right, I'm going one more week the way I am and I'm going to start on Saturday.
But I think it's chunking it down. It's just, actually, as I say, at this time of year when we're looking at this detox, it's just chucking everything out, the revolution instead of the evolution, is actually, starting off with the evolution and just thinking, my intention is to work towards health. How can I do that today? Okay, well, let's make just a better decision around the bread I'm going to eat today. That's it. And then tomorrow make another decision, and work towards this intention of health instead of it being an all or nothing thing. And also within companies, it's about getting leadership within the companies, because often, companies talk about a wellness program, then actually their leadership is so not engaged with that. It's just actually they're just spouting off. Lip service, absolutely, to something they don't really believe in. And they're actually not very healthy themselves, and they don't really believe in it. And how can they make those people follow them? So, they've got to start believing the difference it makes in their life, and to see that dynamic energy and the spark, enthusiasm, return into their lives, and and actually they're living as opposed to existing.
Listen, we always ask all our guests who come on the program to do the show takeaways. I mean,
yes.
Bearing in mind that we are a business show.
Yes.
And that's what we've been talking about, how nutrition in your business can make your business more successful, how maybe being aware of what you're eating is going to make a real difference. Kate, I know you can talk for England. You've got 3 minutes.
Oh my God.
So straight down camera, number one, don't forget, say who you are, where you're from. The airways, Kate Cook, are all yours.
Yes, hello. I'm Kate Cook, and I'm a corporate wellness specialist and also nutritionist by trade. And today I would like to give you 3 tips on how you can start making that evolution happen for you. Don't think about revolution, think about evolution. So the first tip I would say is about the structure. So go back and look at your lifestyle and how it's preventing you at the moment from being healthy, whatever that is. It could be around making boundaries at home, you know, by going home on time. It could be about childcare. It could be about having more fun in your life at weekends and not working. And definitely around technology. Our brains are not designed to operate these technology machines all the time. And it has an impact on our nutrition because it takes away our micronutrients away from our kind of pot that we can access. So make a change around that. And how you do that is, and this isn't a product placement, folks, but go to Paperchase and buy yourself a menu planner. It's £8 or thereabouts to buy yourself a menu planner from Paperchase. Then plan out what you're going to eat. Instead of that, getting home and looking in the fridge and finding nothing there, okay? And wondering who's nicked it. You know, Dobby the house elf, has he been round? You know, nicked all your food? No, you didn't plan it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, get a nice hot meal, especially around this time of year. Look into having, I've got a crock pot, but it's a slow cooker. You chop up the stuff, it takes you 5 seconds, and you've got, well, 5 seconds, but you've got this beautiful, hot, wonderful steaming meal as you come in, and it's absolutely fabulous. So, and they're extremely cheap to operate. Dust it off if you've got it in your garage, you know, because it's been there since your wedding day. And the other thing is just eat organic. You know, if that's your one change, I would do that. Make it slow, start and taste the difference, and you will start making dynamic changes into how you start living your life. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much indeed, Kate. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the programme today. As I said, if you do want to go to Kate's website, it is Kate Cook, The Business of Wellness. It is talking about your business. It's talking about the people who work for you, could well be actually talking about you. Maybe now, at this particular time of the year, after the Christmas excesses, it is time to start the detox, to get out there, maybe change your lifestyle. Don't do it for a month, do it for the rest of your life. Give yourself more energy and get your business more successful just simply by healthy eating and understanding what your body is trying to do. Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the programme as always. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the show. A real insight. So Kate Cook,
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Lovely,
you.
thank you. And I hope you've enjoyed today's show from Business Connections Live. Now, on next week's show, Deborah Charles, CEO of NovaCare, is going to be joining us. And coming up in the future, well, boy, we've got some busy shows coming up. We have got Sophie Wilson, PHA Media. How do you use PR companies and marketing companies more effectively for your business? How do you get out there? How do you approach them? How do you talk to them? Can you do it yourself? Do you need a big London agency looking after what you do? Or do they have skills and facilities and things within their organisation that can help grow yours? Sophie will be explaining all. She's from PHA Media joining us. G. Fernando, entrepreneur and philanthropist, not easy for me to say at this stage of the programme, going to be joining us on the programme. Chris Nkwata, he's a 21-year-old entrepreneur and CEO of Varumo, and also a well-known name actually to people that are in the world of internet marketing. Nigel Bottrell is going to be joining us in the next couple of months here on the programme. As I said, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, we are quite booked at the moment, but if you would like more details, you can get in touch with us here at studio@businessconnectionslive.com, or you can telephone us on 01784 256 777. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, recommend us on, become a subscriber. If you're downloading this programme on iTunes, thank you very much, and do give us a comment. Do come back and give us a comment. Tell us what you think about the programme. If there are programmes that you would like to see, maybe there's areas of business and you're thinking, I really would like some insight into that. Remember, we do cover everything from sales through the marketing, seed funding, and on. It's all there. Tell you what, should we roll the credits? The credits are rolling. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Kate, once again, thank you very much indeed. An absolute insight. So thank you very much. Look forward to having you back on the program in the future as well. Till we do it all again next Monday, live at noon. Till then, from me, Steve Highland, it's bye for now. Bye-bye.